Good morning. I'm Jan McNally, and I have the pleasure and the privilege currently as chair of the Tennessee Arts Commission. I'd like to welcome you all here this morning and thank you for your participation and all that you do to support the growth and the vitality of the arts across the state of Tennessee. As a commissioner, I am appointed by congressional district, and we have commissioners that are appointed by the governor from across the state so that each congressional district is represented. We have been very busy at the Tennessee Arts Commission in the last few years. I like to think we're always busy, and we are, and the work we do with distribution of grants and funds to support and grow the arts across the state. However, I think I can say honestly and easily that the past couple of years through the pandemic, it has been increasingly challenging, stressful, as we've seen so many arts organizations struggle. So I'm proud to say that I think we've met the challenge of being able to increase our grants, and through the allocation of some federal funds that we've been able to continue to support the arts organization through the downturn that we have certainly seen in attendance at performances and those things that affect us so much. So thank you for the work that you've continued to do at Tennesseans for the Arts. And I'd also like to acknowledge the partnership that we have with you. It's been ongoing. It's a national model, our director, Ann Pope, tells me. And I think the synergy that is created with the work that we do and the work that you do to help us get our message out across the state is of the highest value and really can't be measured. So I just encourage you to continue to do that, specialty license plate sales, telling the story of the arts and making sure that people know what's available, and encouraging other members of your community to support the arts is again invaluable. Thank you for the work you do, and welcome to the conference today.
Hi, my name is Dee Dee Parker, and I represent the 9th Congressional District, which is essentially West Tennessee, and we're right on the river, most of us. I am so thrilled to be a representative of the Tennessee Arts Commission and also on the board of Tennessee for the Arts.
My name is Cindy Cameron Ogle, and I am so proud to represent District 1 on the Tennessee Arts Commission, and I'm so glad to be back on the board and recognizing how important the arts are in Tennessee, and knowing that everyone watching this knows that as well, and just totally appreciate your support of the arts.
I'm Michael Duma from District 7, and thank you for all your support.
All right, hey, I'm Kurt Winstead. I'm from the Congressional District 7 appointee, and I want to say thank you to the Arts Advocacy Day. I appreciate everything that you guys are doing. Keep it up. A lot of hard work, but it all pays off in the end. We appreciate making Tennessee great in the arts.
Hi, my name is Mary Kilbride. I'm from the 3rd Congressional District, and I live in Chattanooga. Thank you so much for attending Arts Advocacy Day. It's so important. The arts are so important to the state of Tennessee, and we thank you for all you do for us.
Hi, I'm Steve Bailey. I'm from the 2nd Congressional District, live in Knoxville, Tennessee. We can't thank you enough for all your support, all your advocacy, and all that you do for the arts. Many, many thanks, and we appreciate your time and efforts. Thank you.
Hello, I'm Mark Burnett. I'm a member of the Tennessee Arts Commission. We certainly thank you for all your support and the time that we get to spend discussing areas of Tennessee and what can be done in arts and culture around the state of Tennessee. So again, thank you very much for all that you do for us.
Hi, I'm Stephanie Connor from Nashville, Tennessee. I represent the 5th Congressional District on the Tennessee Arts Commission, and I'm also a board member on Tennesseans for the Arts. So I wear 2 hats, and I'm so honored to do so. Thank you all for being a part of Arts Advocacy Day today. I look forward to seeing everyone in person hopefully next year, but for now we'll do the best we can. Thank you for everything you do. have done and continue to do. And thank you for supporting advocacy in our state and for understanding how important that is and how important it is to the work of the Tennessee Arts Commission.
And now I would like to introduce our Speaker of the House of Representatives in Tennessee, Speaker Cameron Sexton.
I'm Cameron Sexton, Speaker of the Tennessee House. I live in Crossville, Tennessee. My district is in the Cumberland Plateau area, but arts plays an important part in all of our lives. My daughter loves the arts. She loves doing ballet and dancing and watching plays and acting out, which adds a new variety to her life. But as we go forward, I'm a part of the Arts Caucus here in the General Assembly, but supporting the Arts Commission and the arts in our state is really important. Our students and our children need to have that capability. And how you do that is a couple different ways. Support the specialty license plates that helps fund the arts in our state. Give them the funding that they need to attract, to allow people to experience things in their life. But also, to support advocacy and come to the General Assembly and work with your representatives, work with members of your community, help sponsor events in your community to really allow people to have a better understanding of the importance that arts can play in their lives and making our state a better place to live, work, and play. Thank you all.
Good morning. Welcome to our second virtual Arts Advocacy Day. Thank you so much for joining us. My name is Park Kennedy, and it is my honor to serve as Board President of Tennesseans for the Arts, or TFTA as we call ourselves. If you are joining us this morning, you are very likely already a TFTA member, but if you're not, it is our sincere hope that by the end of this online conference, you will be more than eager to join. TFTA is Tennessee's statewide arts advocacy organization. We work to support, defend, and expand public funding for the arts. We do this by educating our members and allies on effective advocacy processes and practices, supporting the work of our state's Legislative Arts Caucus, and defending the specialty license plate program that provides 80% of the funds granted to arts and culture nonprofit organizations by the Tennessee Arts Commission. TFTA is run by a statewide volunteer board of directors and a very small part-time staff. Our individual and organizational members sustain the function of the organization. You, as members, are the foot soldiers of this organization. We rely on you and our board to help us advocate for public funding for the arts by promoting the sale of the specialty license plate program. Large membership numbers translate into a more impactful army of advocates. The greater our number, the stronger our voice. We are super excited that you have taken the time to join us today to learn more about TFTA, the Specialty License Plate Program, and arts advocacy. Together, we can create a stronger TFTA, teach more people about the importance of the specialty plates, and help sustain the critical, dedicated source of funding for the arts. Thank you so much for being here.
Hi, I'm Randy McNally, and I serve as Lieutenant Governor of Tennessee. It's a real pleasure for me to be here on behalf of the Arts Commission. As you know, March 9th of this year will be the annual Arts Appreciation Day. A number of years ago, the Arts Caucus was formed with a number of legislators, and it's very important for you as members of the arts community to go out and meet your individual legislators and stress to them the importance of arts in Tennessee. The one-on-one contact, there can be no better type of advocacy than direct contact with your legislators. Take them through the playhouse or the theater, and I'm sure that they'll value that experience, and it translates into support for the Arts Commission and their work. As you know, the Arts Commission is funded almost entirely through donations and through the license plate sales. So make sure that you encourage people in your community that support arts to get an arts license plate. Thank you.
As has been stated, TFTA exists to advocate for public funding in the state of Tennessee. specifically to defend and protect the dedicated source of public funding that we are so fortunate to have through the sale of specialty license plates. Those funds comprise 80% of the funds granted back out to arts and cultural organizations across 95 counties by the Tennessee Arts Commission. I am very pleased to introduce our next speaker, Tennessee Arts Commission Executive Director Ann Pope. Ann has dedicated herself in that role for almost 10 years, working to cultivate the arts in Tennessee for the benefit of all its citizens and communities. The Tennessee Arts Commission has a very small but mighty staff who work diligently year-round to administer grants across all 95 counties in the state. Under Ann's leadership, in the past 5 years, Tennessee Arts Commission has granted and overseen approximately 4,500 grants, representing a $32 million investment to bring arts programming to communities across the state. Ann Pope is a consummate professional, an astute businesswoman, a passionate advocate, and a wonderful person who I'm honored to work with and consider a friend. Welcome, Ann Pope.
Thank you. My name is Ann Pope, and I'm the Executive Director of the Tennessee Arts Commission. I'd like to thank everyone to being a part of Arts Advocacy Day 2022. I'd first like to thank Whitney Joe, this year's Arts Advocacy Day Chair. Thank you too to Park Kennedy, who is serving another year as President of TFTA. I'm most grateful for your service. I'd like to also acknowledge Stephanie Connor and Deanie Parker, who are on both the boards of the Tennessee Arts Commission as well as TFTA, and acknowledge their service as well. I'd like to also acknowledge the chair of the Tennessee Arts Commission, Jan McNally, and also the rest of the board of the Tennessee Arts Commission for their leadership and service, especially during these challenging times that we've been facing the last couple of years. I'd like to just say how proud I am of the partnership between the Commission, TFTA, as well as the Legislative Caucus. TFTA consists of community and arts leaders who are instrumental in helping the arts remain vital to our state. It's a model that is recognized nationally as far as the partnership between our three entities, and I'd just like to say how much I appreciate working with TFTA as well as the Legislative Arts Caucus. I'd like to just give you a little bit, we call it the Tennessee Arts Commission 101, but just a little bit about the commission. I know many of you know this. We get three sources of funding. We get a state appropriation, we get funding from the National Endowment for the Arts, and we get funding from the Specialty License Plate Program. The license plate, specialty license plate funding that the commission receives is by far our largest source of funding, and 80% of the money that the commission grants out each year, over 80%, is from the specialty license plate funding that we get each year. So it's extremely important to the commission, but mostly to arts and culture programming and activities all over the state. So let me just talk a little bit about the impact of our grants. The Commission last year, for fiscal year 2021, the Commission made $7.5 million in grants, which funded arts and cultural activities for more than 525 nonprofits, schools, and local governments in all of Tennessee's 95 counties. 156 student ticket subsidy grants were made, paying for buses, tickets, and artists serving approximately 100,000 children from counties all across the state. Our grants impacted $5.2 million for in-person adults, Tennesseans and tourists alike, and over 1.5 million children and youth engaged in person. Over 14.5 million adults were engaged virtually in fiscal year 21, and over 2.5 million children and youth were engaged virtually. Over 5 years, more than 4,500 grants
have been made across the state, investing more than $32 million in communities all across Tennessee. Now we know that we talk about it all the time, but that these have been unprecedented times. The pandemic has hit all of Tennessee hard, but especially the Tennessee's arts and culture sector. Over 97% of Tennessee's nonprofits have canceled events because of the pandemic and suffered significant job losses. The Arts Commission has supported the arts and culture sector in a number of ways, including trying to support the arts and culture infrastructure of the state. We've tried to lean any way we can toward the sector, including being more flexible through our grants, and probably as important, we've increased the dollar amount of grants that we have made each of the years of the pandemic. And that's been largely because of the Specialty License Plate Program. The Specialty License Plate Program revenues annually in sales have increased the last 3 years, and that funding in turn has funded more grants all across the state. Additionally, the Tennessee Nonprofit Arts and Culture Recovery Fund is a 3-year, $80 million fund which will provide non-reoccurring funding to address severe pandemic-related economic harm to eligible arts nonprofits to recover and deliver arts and culture services benefiting local economies and quality of life in every Tennessee senatorial district. The funding comes from the U.S. Treasury Coronavirus State Fiscal Recovery Fund that was awarded to the state of Tennessee. Funds allocated to the Arts Commission through the Tennessee Resiliency Plan represent a significant commitment and a recognition of the value of the arts and culture sector to the state's economy and recovery by Governor Lee, the state of Tennessee, and the Financial Stimulus Accountability Group. And so I just wanted to make sure that I mentioned that. Additionally, one other thing I'd like to mention is Americans for the Arts, Arts and Economic Prosperity 6, which is the impact of the nonprofit arts and culture organizations and their audiences in Tennessee. There is a study every 5 years that is hosted by Americans for the Arts. The state of Tennessee is participating once again in that study, and I thank many of you of communities across Tennessee that will be participating in that very important study. So we hope every arts organization, you will participate in your area's local nonprofit arts and culture surveys. The Commission has also continued its diversity and inclusion work, focusing on making our grants accessible across all program areas. We continue to work to ensure accessibility to underserved populations, including reaching new organizations in communities of color in our Arts Access program area. We're continued to provide programming that reaches older adults, including in nursing home facilities whose programs offer and improve health outcomes and reduce isolation. We provide arts programming regardless of geography, income, or any cultural barriers. And I'd like to just end and thank you for what you do. Thank you for being here today and being an important part of Tennessee's arts and culture infrastructure. You help bring arts and culture to every county in the state, and it's important every year. But I would argue it's been more important with the challenges brought on by the pandemic. Whether it was illness, added stress, isolation, We know the arts brings so many benefits, including being a connector. I'd like to thank you for being advocates and being here today. And thank you too for supporting the specialty license plate program that provides public funding for the arts all across Tennessee. Thank you again for all you do, and let's continue to advocate for the arts across Tennessee. Thank you.
We have another very special guest and longtime arts advocate joining us here today. Congressman Steve Cohen represents the 9th Congressional District and has distinguished himself as a passionate, progressive, and forthright voice in Congress. During his 24 years in the Tennessee State Senate, on issues ranging from civil rights to funding for the arts to women's rights to animal welfare, Congressman Cohen was a relentless advocate in the state Senate, even in the face of overwhelming opposition. In the state Senate, he was a leading proponent for the arts, introducing and passing the Tennessee State Cultural License Plate Bill, what we now call the specialty license plates, which has since resulted in millions of dollars in funding for Tennessee nonprofit arts and cultural organizations. In 2001, TFTA recognized his efforts with the Arts Advocate Award. He is known as the father of the Tennessee Lottery, leading the referendum that resulted in the Tennessee Education Lottery Program, helping students continue their education at the college level with over $6 billion so far. Congressman Cohen has received hundreds of awards and honors throughout the years, and we are honored to have him participate in our Arts Advocacy Day conference this year. Thank you, Congressman.
I'm Steve Cohen. I'm the United States Congressman from the Tennessee District 9, which covers Shelby County. The story of the cultural license plates in Tennessee is a really great story about legislative actions and procedures, as well as about the arts in Tennessee and how they've flourished. I think I was in my first term as a state senator. It was about 1983 or 84. And I was on the Transportation Committee. And the chairman, who I shared space with, gave me an opportunity to chair a subcommittee during the summer break. And there was a subcommittee that was open on license plates, personalized license plates. Well, personalized license plates were rare and few in Tennessee. But I had lived in California in high school and used to see personalized license plates out there that were a combination of letters and numbers that they were brain twisters. And it was kind of cool to be out there and see it and think about it and figure out what they were. They were a challenge. So I thought, well, we could do the same thing in Tennessee and use some creativity and give the people of Tennessee a chance to be creative and have some brain twisters here too. And we had the committee. Well, one of the columnists for the Nashville Banner, which was a daily publication, an afternoon paper in Nashville, who was a rather cynical columnist, suggested that this was a perfect example of a waste of money and a waste of time by the General Assembly. That a study committee on license plates would produce nothing and cost the taxpayers some money from the per diem that legislators earned from going to the meetings, and thought it was just folly. Well, I got into it and saw that in the previous year, Tennessee had sold approximately 2,000 license plates, personalized, at a price of $50 a plate. So we brought in $100,000, which just went into the general fund. We had hearings, and I thought about it, and I thought, well, if we lower the price, which we did to $25, and we also give notice about the plates and encourage people to buy them and give it to a cause which might direct people to feel better about the purchase, we could really make this thing grow. And in the first year, by lowering the price from $50 to $25, and by giving notice to people that the money would go to the arts, and for that reason we called them cultural license plates, and I was a supporter of the arts and thought this is a good way to get funding for the arts. We can create something good for the arts and take a state project, make it creative, and make it a money earner. Well, we did. Lowering the price and giving notice took the plates from about 2,000 the first year to about 30,000 plates. And as time has gone on, it's much, much more than that. So after a while, we had the idea, and the idea was when you get your renewal of your license plate, which you get in the mail, at least you used to get them in the mail, you may still, this online stuff's kind of messed with my 1984 study committee, that you could just insert in that envelope that came from the state that they had to mail anyway, a notice that you could get a cultural license plate for $25, explain how to do it, give a few examples, which at first they were mostly universities, and there were a couple of arts plates that had to go out and get designed by Norris Hall. There was a cat with a saxophone. There were a couple of other arts plates like that. And then we had one that was basically a rainbow that was in honor of the great Burton Callicut, whose imprimatur, I guess, was doing rainbows. He did color, and he did quite a few rainbows. And we thought they would sell, and they would. So we put that together, and the people in the Department of Transportation or Revenue, I think it might have been Revenue, came to me and they said, the problem with this is that it weighs more by putting in this piece of paper, and it'll cost us more money to mail it. We can't mail it at the rate we were mailing, so it cost us money. I then got a scissor out, had my staff member bring me a little small scale. I took that letter size notice and clipped it to about 60% size and said, here, weigh this. Came in perfect. No more expense. They abbreviated the message. They put it on both sides of the paper. Didn't cost the state any more money. We gave notice, and we sold more plates. So it was an effort fighting the administration. First, we had to fight the columnists that said it was going to be a wasted study committee. Then when we showed it wasn't going to be, and we came out with the idea of reducing the cost and giving notice and having a good target base, which is the arts. Then we had to fight the Department of Revenue by just simply taking out a pair of scissors and showing them that you could reduce the size and not have any additional expense. And then we had some politics involved because there was some resistance somewhere in the administration, and it was at a meeting, and I rounded up two people that knew Ned McWhorter quite well. Ned McWhorter was the Speaker of the House. He was running for governor in 1986, so I guess it was around 85 or 86, because there was resistance to change and resistance to taking this on. And I got Martha Ingram, who was one of the most active arts patrons in the state of Tennessee and one of the wealthiest people, the Ingram family in Nashville. She was at a meeting I was speaking at, and probably an arts meeting, and Peggy Jalinek from Memphis, also active in the arts. And there might have been a third person as well. It might have been Carl Moore, who was a senator, or his daughter Dana from East Tennessee. And I said, let's go up and see Ned. We got a problem with this, we need to get it done. So I took them with me, we marched up to his office. We got in to talk to Ned. Ned was running for governor. He knew Martha Ingram. He wanted her support. He knew Peggy Jalinek. We sold him on the license plates, and he agreed to support it. Became law. So harnessing your civic strength, your arts supporters like Peggy and Martha, was important. Knowing what a scissor did and then a smaller piece of paper weighed less made a big difference. And not listening to the newspaper columnist and doing it. So it's been very successful. There are plates now of all sorts. In fact, to go back a little bit, at first we were going to have there were certain plates that were college plates, and then there were environmental plates. We had an iris. I designed 3 irises, which is the state flower, and they sold really well, and they were beautiful plates. And then somebody from the Department of Motor Vehicles or the Department of Safety complained that it made it more difficult for them to see the numbers. I don't really think it did, but they made it to where they got a new plate with just an iris on each side. Not as pretty as the first one. I think the sales might have gone down a bit too. But we had some problems in finding the right artist. And somebody at the Arts Commission wanted Carol Clore to do the arts plate. Carol Clore was a great artist, had a Memphis connection. She's from Arkansas, but had taught at the College of Art. Might have lived here. Well, Carol Clore was toward the end of his life, and they kept waiting for Carol Clore to do a plate and putting it off, and he never did it. So I got Burton Callicut to do this rainbow plate, and then I got Norris Hall, who was kind of an op artist out of Nashville and lives in Murfreesboro, who I liked his work, to come up with the cat playing the saxophone, which was an arts plate. And there was a second one he had, which may still be out there, another arts plate. I'm trying to think what it was. Might have been, it was the cat. He didn't have a dog. He had a fish. And Norris did fish, and the fish was an arts plate too. And that's still out there. So I called Norris to do it. Norris did it within just a week or 2 weeks and sent me the plate, got Burton Calico's plate. And I said, listen, we've waited on Carol Clore for about 2 years now. Let's just go with these. Get the plates done, get the money, not worry about Carol Clore. We did it. They sold well, been a big success. We've got one of the best funded arts programs in the country now because of the money from the license plates. We encourage every arts group to give notice to their patrons that the personalized plates, the cultural plates as we name them, go to the arts so that the people that get the benefit also help advertise and give notice, and hopefully their patrons would buy the plates knowing they go to a good spot. It hasn't been a perfect program as years have gone on because certain legislators found ways to direct money towards their groups, but that's a minor cough or hiccup. The program's worked well. I was proud to do it, and it was one of the achievements I'm most proud of in supporting the arts, and we have one of the best funded arts programs in the United States of America now.
Molly Pratt, our next speaker, is literally the glue holding TFTA together since its inception. Her extensive government relations experience and involvement as former member and chair at the Tennessee Arts Commission, as well as in the Metro Arts Commission, have been absolutely invaluable to the TFTA. She has worked tirelessly to build a close and sustainable relationship between the Tennessee Arts Commission and TFTA, which has been vital in the support and continuation of the state's specialty license plate program, a program which has generated revenue for arts programming across the state for 30 years. Molly guided the formation of the Tennessee General Assembly's Legislative Arts Caucus and has helped us build strong relationships between policymakers and arts advocates. Through her involvement, TFTA is regarded as a national model for arts advocacy. Molly's playbook literally helped us create our one message, one voice strategy, and she has written the book on how we talk about advocacy in Tennessee. She is the recipient of the National Assembly of State Arts Agency's 2018 Distinguished Public Service Award, much deserved recognition for her passionate, some might even say tenacious, advocacy for the arts. I have worked alongside Molly for the past 4 years now, and it's been a tremendous honor. I have learned so much and am incredibly grateful for the experience. With great admiration and respect, I introduce Molly Pratt.
Well, good morning, everyone. I'm Molly Pratt. Many of you all may know that I am Tennesseans for the Arts education consultant, and part of my responsibility is helping educate members of the General Assembly about TFTA's position and the importance of the specialty license plate. I usually like to tell you all when you're here for these Arts Advocacy Days, I don't know whether you all know this or not, but this is our 21st Arts Advocacy Day. We've been doing this since 1990, and it seems like we've done this a lot of different ways, so this is a new way to do it today. But my information is always pretty much the same because I want to tell you what's going on in Nashville. I always like to tell you all about the governor's budget, which he introduced this year. And it is the largest budget ever presented to the General Assembly in the history of the state of Tennessee. It's coming in at a whopping $52.5 billion. That includes $8 billion in new spending. That new spending, 2.7 of that is in capital, 2.7 billion of that's in capital, 1.2 billion of that is in K through 12 education dollars. There's nearly $750 million in infrastructure needs, and there's $600 million in law enforcement. 3/4 of this $8 billion is one-time spending, but the rest of the money will be recurring dollars, which will be added to next year's budget. The legislature is now in the process of hearing from different departments and their budgets, and they will be taking up the governor's budget, one of the very last things. And as you know, we also always look towards the end of session for the governor's supplemental budget. That will probably is rumored to be coming towards the end of March. The other thing that we always like to talk about is the omnibus bill. And this year's omnibus bill for the specialty license plate is once again carried by Chairman Becky Massey, the chair of the Senate Transportation Committee, and Chairman Dan Howe, the chairman of the House Transportation Committee. And this year, the omnibus bill is Senate Bill 1668, and the House Bill is House Bill 1654. And this is really important because the omnibus bill takes all, for lack of a better way to describe it, applications for specialty license plates and rolls them all into one bill. So they travel together through the process here at the General Assembly. And so as you continue to do your advocacy work at the grassroots level, it's always important and helpful to thank your members of the General Assembly for their support of the arts, for their support of the specialty license plate program, and always add in something to tell them a little bit about what you're doing with the resources that you receive from the specialty license plate program and the grants from the Tennessee Arts Commission. You know, hearing Steve Cohen talk about the beginnings of the specialty license plate program is an interesting and fascinating story because hearing it from his perspective is a different way for us to look at how all this got started. But you know, the history of the specialty license plate program just began with Steve Cohen. And it's continued on for the last 40 years. And there have been some milestones within the program since the initial launch of this idea. And one of the things that I think is really important is to realize that in the 40 years that the program's been underway, there have been changes. And some of the people that you're going to talk to about specialty license plates and preserving the formula are people that may not know the whole story. And so we think it's really important for you to not just understand how it all got started a long time ago, but what happened over the years and what some of the decisions were. So when you speak to legislators about the importance of the specialty license plate, you'll have a better idea and an understanding of how important and how this program has changed over the years and why those changes were made. Every now and then somebody will call me up and they'll have a great suggestion and they'll want to know why something's the way it is. And think that maybe it'd be a good idea, maybe if we had fewer license plates needing to be sold before a plate can go into production, for example. Right now the threshold's at 1,000. And there are a lot of people who struggle to be able to do that. But the flip to that is that there's some history there. The reason why the plates have a threshold of 1,000 that have to be pre-sold is because that was part of a negotiation that took place in 1998. So Steve's story ends at the creation of the specialty license plate, the cultural plate, the collegiate plate. And over the course of the next 10 years, lots of groups and organizations began to seize on this same idea. They came to Nashville, they asked for a specialty plate, and they went into production. And they had small thresholds, and some of the more popular plates that we still see today had their advent during this time. And in the early to mid-90s, Steve Cohen was still a member of the General Assembly, and that coupled with the Department of Safety beginning to complain about the proliferation of plates, and since you only had to have 250 to get under production, there were a lot of plates out there on the road. And so there was a study that was done in the mid-90s, and some of the recommendations that came out of that study led to, in 1998, Public Chapter 1063, which was the creation of and the beginning of the new specialty license plate. So you need to remember that there is a distinction between a specialty license plate and a new specialty license plate. In 1998, all the plates that had previously been commissioned and were in production and people were buying were grandfathered, which means that they were allowed to continue just as they had been. But from that point forward, starting in 1998, anytime there was a request for a new specialty license plate, it had to follow a different course in order for it to become a plate that was put on a car driving on the road. And that included, it needed to have specifications that were met and had to be looked at by the Department of Safety to make sure that everything on the plate was readable. It included having a threshold of 1,000, which meant pre-sale, you had to sell 1,000 plates before it could be put into production. And finally, and this is where we talk about our very special, always talking about it, formula, the 50-40-10. At that point, because Steve Cohen had done a really good job of explaining to people the entire reason for a collegiate cultural specialty tag in the beginning was to help fund the arts. A new formula was created, and it specified that if you wanted a new specialty license plate as a sponsoring nonprofit, you would get 50% of the proceeds. The arts would get 40% of the proceeds, and 10% would go to the highway fund. So at that point in time is when most people really begin to think about and understand the formula. But there's a whole host of plates still out there that were grandfathered in and operate under different rules. The other thing that happened was during this time, there became some questions about how hard it would be to reach 1,000. So there were some adjustments made that said that you had a 2-year window in which to reach your 1,000. So a lot of times if you're looking at the omnibus bill, you'll see someone getting an extension. And even though 1,000 doesn't sound like that big of a deal, it's still pretty complicated to be able to do that. So when you look back and you think about it, over the last 15 years, the 50-40-10 formula has generated $33 million for nonprofits, $26.5 million for arts and culture organizations through the 40% going to the Arts Commission, and another $6 million or $6.6 million for the State Highway Fund, which is a total of $66 million over the past 15 years. So when we talk to legislators, you have to assume that the majority of them know a little bit about a specialty plate, may or may not know about having to sell 1,000 before they go into production, and believe that they mostly understand that they support the organization that sponsored it and that some of the money goes to the arts. But anything that you do, from working on learning more about this on the website, when you look at the Tennesseans for the Arts website, to making yourself more knowledgeable about the license plate program, is really important, because art advocates need to be experts and understand why the license plate is so important, why that story Steve Cohen told you was the beginning of a 40-year plus legacy, and why today, understanding the new specialty plate, the program, how it works today, and how much money's generated for the Tennessee Arts Commission to give out arts and culture sector nonprofit grants, is something that everybody needs to keep at the top of their mind when they're talking with their legislators.
I'm delighted to welcome our next speaker, Senator Becky Massey. Senator Massey joins us today as chair of the Tennessee General Assembly's Legislative Arts Caucus. In this role, she leads the 29 Arts Caucus members' arts advocacy efforts and their work to uphold their pledge to provide ongoing support for the specialty license plate program. She has served in the Tennessee Senate since 2011, when she was elected to the 6th District. Senator Massey is chair of the Transportation and Safety Committee and a member of the Health and Welfare Committee. She is also chair of the Knox County Delegation, State Director of Women in Government, and vice chair of NCSL Labor and Economic Development Committee. A seasoned and astute businesswoman, she is the former executive director of the Sertoma Center, a company that provides residential and day services to individuals with intellectual and development disabilities in Knoxville. Senator Massey is deeply aware of the critical role the arts play in community economic development and quality of life for citizens in every walk of life. We are extremely fortunate to have her in our camp as Arts Caucus Chair and very grateful for her participation in today's conference. Thank you, Senator Massey.
Good afternoon. I'm Senator Becky Massey from Knoxville, Tennessee, and I chair the Arts Caucus for the Tennessee General Assembly. I want to welcome you to Arts Advocacy Day on the Hill, even if it is still virtual this year. Maybe next year you guys will all be back down here visiting with us in person, which is much more fun. But I do want to thank you for all that you do every day in your community, enriching the areas you live and the people that live near and dear to you all. You know, the Arts Advocacy Day, when you come down here to meet with your legislators, is to let them know the importance of arts in Tennessee. But you know, you can still do that at your home. You can invite your area legislators to your program, to your art show, to your dance performance, to your opera, to your symphony, and to your visual arts. And let them see the importance of what you're doing firsthand. And that actually will even be better than coming and sitting in our offices here. So just make that effort to reach out to your legislators. They're just like anybody else. They want to hear from you, they want to get to know you, and they want to know what you're doing. You know, one of the things through the Arts Advocacy Program that we do is our specialty license plates. And that is so important because it helps fund organizations like yours throughout the state. And now we do an omnibus bill, which we put all the new requests in together, and that shows that the legislature finds that important so we can continue that distribution not only to the new nonprofit, but to the arts organizations. Arts has been an important part of my family's life. I have a sister that is an amazing visual artist and draws portraits and does beautiful work. She got all the talent in the family. I can do squiggly art. That's about all I got. But and I have a daughter that is been an amazing dancer and choreographer. And so through them, I've been able to experience arts a little bit closer on the developmental level. So I know how much important it is. I know how it helps our students learn better if they participate in the arts. And it just helps all of us in Tennessee have a much more enriching lives. So thank you again for all you do. I appreciate you, and I look forward to coming to an event that you have.
Our next speaker is passionate about youth and education and the arts. Senator Akbari is an extremely hardworking member of the Senate Commerce and Labor Committee, the Senate Energy, Agricultural, and Natural Resources Committee, the Senate Ethics Committee, and she serves as second vice chair of the Senate Education Committee. From Memphis, she continues to introduce legislation affecting education and educational policy, criminal justice reform, job growth incentives, and other areas that affect her constituents, as well as Tennesseans from all walks of life. Senator Akbari is keenly aware of the value of the arts in education and its economic impact, and she is passionate, underline the word passionate, about the importance of creativity in giving people a voice and in preparing a new generation for employment. Thank you very much for joining us, Senator.
Okay, alrighty. My name is Ramesh Akbari. I represent Senate District 29, which is in Memphis and Shelby County. Starts in Millington, goes down the river, gets downtown, Central Garden, Southwest Memphis. I have Graceland and Stax and the Civil Rights Museum in my district, so it's a district of museums. When I was in first grade, I started at Chimney Rock Elementary. The first week of school, I was Artist of the Week. Now I cannot draw. I can't paint. I can't sing. I can't dance on rhythm. Nothing. Okay, I don't know what happened between first grade and now. But I was Artist of the Week, and the art teacher put my drawing up in the front of the school, and that for me was just amazing. I felt important. I felt special, and I felt like my work was valued. And I think that's what all children need to be able to feel. They need to be able to express themselves, whether we're talking about through painting or drawing or anything related to the arts. It's important. I didn't realize till I got to the legislature just how much the arts were under attack. So I'm thankful for the advocacy work that you all do. The way that you step up and you fill the gap that's so needed in our communities. Whether I'm driving down the street and I see a beautiful mural, or I'm taking in a performance at one of our great facilities, or seeing some of our young performers, it makes a difference and it's important. So thank you for being a part of this day. Thank you for your presence. I can't wait till we're in person again, but just know that you have a constant supporter in me. I understand the importance of arts and what you do and how it impacts our lives. And I'll say one thing else. For a brief period of time, I think I'd lost my mind. I wanted to be a doctor, and I participated in a program at UT, and they talked about the importance of music therapy and how that could change how people heal, and the importance of art and allowing people to express themselves. And I thought that it goes so much deeper and bigger than what people think it is. So thank you for what you do, and just know I have your back no matter what.
I'm extremely pleased to welcome our next participant and very grateful for her time. Kelly Barsdate is Chief Program and Planning Officer for the National Assembly of State Arts Agencies, which she joined in 1991. She is the Chief Architect of their strategic plan and oversees their member service portfolio, including research activities, member education programs, communications, state technical assistance, and special initiatives. Kelly leads NASAA's State Arts Agency Boot Camps, which is an intensive leadership development program designed for state arts agency executives. She draws on deep knowledge about the state arts agency field to advise and train state arts agency staff, council members, and constituents on public value fundamentals, effective advocacy, strategic planning, program design, and evaluation practices. Kelly has written extensively on arts policy, strategic planning, and performance measurement. We are delighted to have her here with us today. Thank you for joining us, Kelly.
Hi there, I'm Kelly Barsdate from the National Assembly of State Arts Agencies, otherwise known as NASA. We represent all of the state arts councils across the country, and my job is to help those agencies and advocates like you to make a successful case for the arts. So I'm really happy to be part of Advocacy Day in Tennessee again. Full disclosure, I'm not a lobbyist and I'm not here to play one on TV. I started working at NASA as a researcher, and it's that evidence that turned me into an arts advocate, seeing the positive impact of the arts. That plus my own experience as a kid growing up in rural Alaska, who would have taken a really different path in life if it weren't for the arts. Personally, I saw the power of the arts to help my small town to flourish, to keep me engaged in school, and to keep me out of trouble. Fast forward to today, and the arts shows me that my own experience was not a fluke, it wasn't unique. Public funds for the arts are enriching lives in all of the states, including Tennessee. I've spent the last 30 years at NASA crunching numbers and comparing states to each other. So believe me when I tell you, you all have a great thing going in Tennessee. A lot of other states have experienced volatility in their appropriations for the arts, but in Tennessee, funding has been more steady by comparison. Tennessee is ranked number 15 in the nation for per capita arts funding at $1.34. That's a good number, worth sustaining and growing. It allows your Arts Commission to put grants in all 95 counties. You'll probably hear more than one speaker mention that today because it's so important for elected officials to know. It points to the relevance of the arts in every community. It speaks to how the Arts Commission makes programs accessible to everyone. And it's a powerful but very polite hint about what's at stake politically, which never hurts. Much of your success is due to your specialty license plate program, of course. So let me show you what I found when I pulled up the latest license plate data from other states. There are 15 states with specialty plate programs designed to promote the arts, but not all of those programs are created equal. Yours really stands out. Some programs don't consistently return revenue to state arts agencies, either because the funds go to a different designee or because they don't hit the minimum sales thresholds. Only 10 are projected to return money to the state arts agency this year in 2022. Among those, Tennessee is at the very top of the heap. You get more than 3 times what California does from arts plates, despite the size of California's population. In the past, Texas was another state with a big program, used to realize more revenue from their arts plates, but their numbers have slowed down a bit. We're all familiar with the old adage of don't mess with Texas, but I think these numbers prove that you shouldn't mess with Tennessee either. Tennessee's plate program is certainly the most robust in terms of the revenue that it generates for the arts. And part of that is about the structure of the statute and how it connects with other specialty plates. But even the most clever policy in the world will not succeed if there aren't people behind it. People who are willing to bolt the plate to their bumpers, people who are willing to promote the program, and people like you who are willing to advocate for the arts with the legislature to make sure they become champions too. You all should feel really proud of what you've accomplished in Tennessee. But don't take that success for granted. In my decades at NASA, I've seen a lot of bizarre things happen in other states. I've seen supplemental revenue strategies fail to reach their potential. And when they do, I've seen legislatures raid that money for other causes. So anytime I'm speaking to a state with a dedicated funding source, whether it's a TAD, a tax, or a trust, I tell them never to ease up on advocacy. Last fall, I went to a meeting of the National Conference of State Legislatures, or NCSL, and spending time with elected officials of all political stripes from all different states was a really interesting experience. And I want to share 4 takeaways with you from that time. The first was about how to deliver data. You need to show numbers to legislators. They need numbers about the impact of the arts to justify their spending. But they hear hundreds of thousands of numbers every day. The entire NCSL meeting was literally saturated with data. So what's going to make legislators remember our numbers in the arts? Pairing it with a good story to help it stick. Make your story short, sweet, memorable, and positive. Second lesson learned from NCSL is that we need to talk about how the arts make our communities strong. It's really easy to fall into a trap of talking about what we lack or what we need, and it's fine to talk about what we need, but legislators may be more receptive if we talk first about what we contribute to the economy, add to rural communities, to education, and to health. Third takeaway from my time at NCSL was about the importance of a unified message. One day I was at a lunch table with a state senator from a state that I won't name, but it wasn't Tennessee. Anyway, he was tearing his hair out because different localities all wanted different things from him on a regulatory issue. He was about ready to tell them all to go take a hike. And it was a really good moment to remember why we need to make sure all arts advocates are always on the same page. Last takeaway, remember to say thank you. I was talking to a group of about 30 legislators. Not all of them were champions of the arts, if you know what I mean, right? Some of them were on their phones, checking their messages or shuffling around, doing other business. But when I thanked them for their service, when I thanked them for doing the hard work of helping communities, when I thanked them for enacting support for the arts, I had every eyeball in the room with them. So when your mama used to tell you to always say thank you, she was right. I know that today is Tennessee's Arts Advocacy Day, which is fantastic. It's a great event and a great occasion to come together for the arts. But I also want to challenge you to make every day Arts Advocacy Day in Tennessee. Advocacy works best if it's year-round. If you drop a line to your elected officials regularly to tell them what you're up to, if you get your entire board involved in advocacy, and if you help your audiences understand why state support is so important. I'll wrap up by thanking Tennesseans for the Arts and the Arts Commission for inviting me to join you today. And thanks to all of you too for all of the work that you do in the arts. Your work is not just a nicety, it's a necessity. And your advocacy voice really, truly makes a difference. So thank you for using it.
Our next speaker has been involved with TFTA as a board member off and on since 1999, serving as vice president for West Tennessee for almost 14 years. Whitney Joe is founder director of Memphians for the Arts, which was established in 2009. And during the day, she is managing director of Playhouse on the Square in Memphis, where she has been employed since 1993. She is passionate about the arts and regularly spreads her knowledge and experience as an arts manager and arts advocate with other groups throughout Tennessee. In 2003, she was recognized by Memphis Woman magazine as one of the 50 women in Memphis who make a difference. In 2010, she was named one of Memphis' top 40 under 40 by the Memphis Business Journal, and in 2019, she was recognized as one of Memphis' superwomen by the Memphis Business Journal. She was recognized not once but twice in 2012 and 2017 by Governor Haslam for her dedication to advocating for the arts throughout the state of Tennessee. Whitney Joe is a selfless, creative leader, a direct and thoughtful speaker, and an inspiration as a person and a friend. Thankfully, she is also the chair of this year's Arts Advocacy Day for TFTA, and she has done a wonderful job. Thank you so much, Whitney Joe.
Hi, I'm Whitney Joe. I'm the Vice President of Tennesseans for the Arts, representing West Tennessee, the cool section of Tennessee. Today's program was exhilarating and inspiring, and I hope you feel that way too. And now we have some simple steps, very simple steps for you to follow to take what you've learned today and move forward. First off, are you a member of Tennesseans for the Arts? You can see the type of work that we do. It's about making sure that the arts and culture are taken care of in the state, protecting and defending the license plate program, and so much more, making sure the arts are in the forefront of discussions up in Nashville. So, if you're not a member, we encourage you to go to our website today and become a member. And if you are a member already, be sure to make sure you're current and renew it when it's time. We would like to also talk about advocating for the arts. Something that everybody brought up today is some simple steps you can take to take the message from today and move forward. First off, do you mail things to your legislators? Do you email things to your legislators? If you are with an organization, we encourage you to add all of them to your mailings. Keep them up to date on what you're doing. And if you're not with an organization, we encourage you to still reach out to your legislators and let them know how important the arts are to your community. It's a very important step. We need to keep talking about it. We need to keep mentioning the arts and how much they mean to us every day and how much they mean to our community. So write your legislators, email your legislators, send them pamphlets, send them whatever you have to encourage them to support the arts. Now, if you have an event or an opening or a new gallery show, be sure to invite your legislators. It's that simple. Hopefully they will be there and they will see all of the wonderful work that you are doing. So please, please, please reach out to your legislators. Also, if you're at an event, somebody else's event, and you see your legislator, I encourage you to go up to them, introduce yourself. I do it all the time. Hi, I'm Whitney Joe. I'm with Playhouse on the Square and Tennesseans for the Arts. Put your face in front of them and make sure they understand how much the arts mean to you. Now, that's the easy part. One more easy part to go. Step 3, your specialty license plate. We've learned today about the history of the plate. We've learned how important it is to the arts in the state of Tennessee. And so now it's your turn. If you have a specialty plate on your car, be sure to renew it. I have the fish. I love the fish. It's an arts plate. And if you do not have a specialty plate on your car, I encourage you to get one. You can get anything, although I'd love for you to get an arts plate, the fish, the cat, the rainbow, You can get other plates too. We still get a portion of that funding. And that all goes back into the arts and culture across the state. So, we want you to be proud of your plate. Get it? Proud of your plate. So, go get your specialty license plate. Then, we want you to also talk to 2 of your friends. That's it. 2 of your friends by the end of this month. And get them to also understand the importance of spending that extra money, getting that specialty plate, and what it means to the state, what it means to the arts. And then they too can be proud of their plate. So please, please, please go get your specialty license plate. It is a simple, simple gesture, which goes a very long way. So be proud of your plate. And then because you're proud of your plate, we encourage you to take a photo of you with your plate. We've already had some great photos come in. Photos of people with their cat, with the cat plate, or even people with other license plates. I have the fish plate, so I'm doing a little pucker to the fish. We encourage you to have fun with it and then share that with us at Tennesseans for the Arts. We will use that as part of our social media campaign to encourage all Tennesseans across the state to show their pride in their plate. And let's beauty the streets with our plates. So, those simple steps. You're going to join TFTA or renew your membership. You're going to reach out to your legislators. They're just like you and me. They just want to meet you, and they want to get to know you, and they want to hear that you support the arts. And you can do that any which way you can, and if you need more ideas, let me know. I'll be happy to get you some. And last but not least, get that specialty license plate. We want you to buy that specialty license plate, and we want you to get 2 of your friends to also buy a specialty license plate. The more money that comes into the specialty license plate program, the more money that is distributed to the arts across the state. So, easy peasy. You take everything you learned from today and do those 3 things. Now, I would like to take a moment to thank all of our speakers from today. They worked very hard to be with us, and we appreciate all of their words and encouragement and inspiration. I would also like to thank Tennesseans for the Arts who put this program together. I would like to thank the Tennessee Arts Commission and all of the commissioners. They have done wonders to keep the arts alive and thriving here in the state of Tennessee. Most of all, I would like to thank you. You took the first step. You joined us today. You watched this wonderful program, and I hope we have inspired you to do all those things we talked about: advocate, become a member of TFTA, and be proud of your plate. Share a photo with us. Share a photo with your friends. Let everybody know that you're proud of your plate, and let's sell these specialty license plates. Together, we can make a difference. So be sure to visit our website, www.tn4arts.org, for more information on everything that was talked about today. These videos will also be on that website in the future, so be sure to check back. Thank you again for being here today. I hope that you have been inspired and are ready to go out and advocate. Yay, the arts! Thank you so much.